The armada arrives. The galaxy had waited for this day. Rumors had spread for months. Rumors of the alien armada gathering in the darkness. The Zorath Dominion, proud rulers of countless worlds, had built the largest fleet in their history. Over 5,000 warships moved together, stretching like a wall of steel across the stars. Their target was small, almost laughable to them: Earth. The aliens believed humans were young, reckless, and fragile. Humanity had only been in the stars for a short time. To the Zorath, it was nothing but a weak species that had grown too loud, too fast. They told themselves this would be quick, that the battle would be a lesson written in fire. From the bridge of the flagship Imperial Fang, Admiral Kareth watched with sharp yellow eyes. Around him, his crew laughed and cheered. "Humans will kneel before us," one officer said. "They won't even last an hour," another replied. Admiral Kareth smiled, his claws tapping the armrest of his command chair. "This is no battle," he told them. "This is extermination." The fleet pushed forward, engines burning bright, their shadows falling across moons and dead rocks. The silence of space trembled with their movement. To every alien watching, across the galaxy, the sight of the armada was terrifying. To Kareth, it was glorious. Then the first human ship appeared. It was small compared to the massive alien fleet, a single warship floating quietly in the void. Its hull was black, shaped, with strange angles, almost as if it bent the light around it. The ship didn't fire. It didn't even move. It simply waited. The alien officers laughed. "Is that it? One ship? Have they gone mad? Do they think this is diplomacy?" Admiral Kareth narrowed his eyes. Something about the silence bothered him. A fleet this size should have drawn a human defense line, not a single vessel. Yet here it was, still, calm, unafraid. "Scan it," Kareth ordered. The screens filled with data. The alien scientist frowned. "Admiral, strange readings. Energy levels are high. Too high for a ship this size." "Explain." We don't understand. Its power output is beyond anything in our records." Kareth growled. "Nonsense. It's a bluff. Destroy it." At his command, the front line of alien cruisers opened fire. Bright lances of plasma cut across space, hundreds of beams striking the human ship. Explosions lit the void, so bright that nearby moons glowed. The officers cheered, clapping and shouting victory, but when the light cleared, the human ship still stood, not a scratch. Its shields shimmered faintly like ripples on water, then vanished again, silent, waiting. The bridge of the Imperial Fang went quiet. Officers stared at the screens in disbelief. How is it still alive? That was enough firepower to break a station apart. Admiral Kareth's claws dug deeper into his chair. His instincts screamed at him now. This was not normal, this was not weakness. The silence of the human ship felt like the silence of a predator, calm, patient, and deadly. On distant worlds, other alien species watched the live feeds with growing unease. They had expected the humans to burn. Instead, they saw a single warship stand firm against the largest fleet in history. Inside the human vessel, the crew sat quietly at their stations. Their captain, a man with steady eyes, said nothing. He simply watched the alien armada gather, his hand resting lightly on the firing control. Around him, his officers waited, their faces calm. They did not look like prey. Minutes passed. The aliens grew restless. More ships moved forward, preparing another strike. The air on the flagship felt heavy, fear slowly mixing with arrogance. Kareth rose from his chair. His voice shook with anger. "Fire everything. I want that ship erased from existence." Thousands of alien weapons charged again. The stars themselves seemed to vanish under the light. And still, the human ship waited. It didn't dodge. It didn't retreat. It simply waited. The tension grew unbearable. Across the galaxy, audiences leaned closer to their screens, wondering the same question. Why was the human warship so calm? And deep inside, Every alien watching felt the first cold seed of fear, because if one ship dared to face an entire armada, perhaps it knew something they didn't. The silence before the storm had begun. The first shots, the alien armada prepared for the kill. Thousands of weapons lit up, charging until the void itself glowed red. Plasma cannons hummed, rail slugs slid into place, missile bays opened like hungry jaws. The Zorath Dominion had never unleashed so much power at once. On the bridge of the Imperial Fang, Admiral Kareth stood tall. His voice was sharp, echoing across the command deck. "Fire!" The sky erupted. A storm of plasma bolts and rail rounds screamed across space, crashing into the human warship. Missiles split into swarms, each carrying enough destructive force to shatter continents. From a distance, it looked like the human ship was swallowed by a sun. Alien crews cheered. Their voices filled comms across the fleet. "Victory!" Pathetic humans. They are dust now. But when the glare faded, silence followed. The human warship still floated in the void, not burning, not broken, still waiting. Its shields glowed faintly for a moment, then dimmed again like calm ripples fading across a pond. The laughter on the alien decks died quickly. Confusion spread. "How?" one officer whispered. "That blast could have destroyed a fortress world," another muttered. Kareth's claws tightened against his chair. His instincts burned with warning. He didn't want to believe it, but the truth was staring at him. Their weapons had done nothing. The humans had not even fired back. On alien homeworlds across the galaxy, spectators froze. Billions watched the feeds in disbelief. The greatest fleet ever assembled had just unleashed its fury, and it meant nothing. A single human ship had stood against it without flinching. Inside the human warship, the crew remained calm. The captain's voice was steady, almost cold. "They've made their move. Now, they'll see ours." His officers nodded, silent but firm. Every hand hovered above controls, waiting for the order. Their faces showed no fear, only quiet certainty. On the alien side, panic began to crawl through the ranks. The younger officers whispered, "Admiral, should we retreat? Maybe we need to regroup." "Silence," Kareth roared. His voice carried the weight of his pride, but deep inside, unease coiled like a snake. "Do not forget who we are. This is the Dominion. Increase firepower. Drain every core if you must. I want that ship gone." The order spread. Thousands of cannons recharged, glowing brighter than before. Railguns whirred, missiles loaded in waves. The armada unleashed a second strike, larger and deadlier than the first. The entire void lit like a false dawn, and again, the human ship endured. When the storm faded, the human vessel floated calmly, untouched. Its hull shimmered with faint light, then went dark again as though nothing had happened, not a single scar. The alien fleet was silent now. Crews stared at their screens with wide eyes. Some whispered prayers. Others froze in terror. The comms crackled with nervous voices. "Impossible. No ship can survive that. What are we fighting?" Kareth felt cold sweat beneath his armor. For the first time in decades, he didn't have an answer. The humans had taken everything the Dominion could throw at them, and had not even bothered to respond. The silence grew heavier, pressing on every chest across the fleet. Then, for the first time, the human warship moved. Its engines flared with pale blue fire, steady and precise. Slowly, it turned to face the armada directly. Its dark hull reflected no light, only shadows. The moment felt like a predator locking eyes with prey. Admiral Kareth gritted his teeth, trying to summon pride. But his crew could feel it too. The shift in power, the weight of fear pressing down on them. The humans had been silent until now. Their patience was over. Inside the human vessel, the captain's hand hovered above the firing controls. He spoke softly, but every crew member heard his words. "Target acquired, return fire." The first shot was about to come. Humanity's answer. The void was silent. Thousands of alien ships floated in tense formation, their weapons still glowing from the last barrage. Every alien eye was fixed on the lone human warship. It had not broken. It had not even flinched. And then it moved. The ship's cannons came alive with a low, echoing hum that carried across the comms. Alien sensors screamed with warnings they could not understand. Strange energy signatures filled their screens, numbers jumping beyond any known scale. On the bridge of the Imperial Fang, Admiral Kareth felt his chest tighten. His instincts told him the truth. The humans had allowed them to fire first. They had endured the storm on purpose. Now it was their turn. Inside the human vessel, the captain stood tall. His hand rested on the firing control, steady as stone. His crew watched him in silence, trusting his every move. The captain's voice was calm, but heavy with finality. Fire. The warship's railgun roared. A streak of light tore across space faster than the eye could follow. It slammed into an alien cruiser, one of the Dominion's strongest, layered with thick armor and energy shielding. For a brief moment, the cruiser shone like a star, and then it was gone. Not broken, not damaged, gone, vaporized in silence. On alien bridges across the fleet, jaws dropped. Entire crews stared at their screens in disbelief. A single shot had erased one of their proudest war machines. No, that's impossible. What kind of weapon is that? Admiral Kareth's claws dug into his chair. His officers looked at him for answers, but he had none. His throat felt dry. The humans had fired once. Just once. And already the armada trembled. The human ship reloaded, calmly, smoothly, without fear. Another shot fired. Another cruiser disappeared in a burst of shattered metal and light. Then another, and another. Each time, one Dominion warship ceased to exist. There were no survivors, no wreckage left behind. Just silence, as though the void itself had swallowed them. Panic spread like fire. Alien voices screamed across comms. Pull back, pull back! They're cutting us apart. It's only one ship. How can it be only one ship? But no retreat order came. Kareth's pride chained him to the battle. His voice roared above the chaos. Form up! Overwhelm it with numbers! They cannot destroy us all! Obediently, hundreds of ships surged forward, surrounding the human warship. Their cannons fired, in desperate fury, filling space with plasma storms and nuclear bursts. The void became a furnace. And still, the human warship endured. Its shield shimmered like calm water absorbing the storm. Its railguns spoke again, each shot precise, each target chosen with cold accuracy. Every time the humans fired, another Dominion ship was gone. The aliens could not keep up. On alien homeworlds, citizens watching the broadcast began to whisper. For centuries, the Zorath Dominion had ruled with iron and fire. No one had ever stood against them. But here now, before their eyes, one human ship was undoing everything. Inside the human vessel, the captain gave no smile, no sign of joy. His voice was steady, almost distant. Continue the strike pattern. Target command ships next. A cold silence fell over his crew as they obeyed. They were not fighting for glory. They were sending a message. The next railgun blast tore through a Dominion command carrier. Thousands of alien officers died in a flash of light. The fleet's chain of command collapsed into chaos. Ships stumbled out of formation, colliding, panicking. Admiral Kareth felt the weight of dread crush his chest. His officers' eyes burned with fear. Admiral, one whispered, we cannot win this, we must retreat. Kareth said nothing. For the first time in his life, he felt small. His great armada was being slaughtered by a single predator. And the predator was not finished. The human ship fired again and again. Its guns spoke like thunder, each strike wiping away more of the once proud fleet. In that moment, every alien soldier understood the truth. The battle had never belonged to them. It was over before it began. The battle turns. The alien armada was no longer a wall of steel. It was breaking apart. Hundreds of ships had already vanished under the railguns of the human warship. The once proud formation was now scattered, glowing with burning wrecks and drifting bodies. Admiral Kareth felt the fear in every breath of his crew. Their eyes avoided his. Their hands shook at the controls. The enemy had shattered their pride, with calm precision. Still, Kareth's pride would not die. His voice thundered through the fleet comms. "Do not run. Swarm them. Numbers will crush their weapons. Surround the ship and attack from every side." The Dominion obeyed. From every angle, destroyers, cruisers, and carriers rushed forward. Hundreds of ships locked onto the lone human vessel. The sky burned with their engines. The plan was simple. Overwhelm with numbers, bury the predator in sheer firepower. On alien bridges, commanders shouted orders. "Close in! Cut off theirs! Escape! Fire all weapons, don't stop until nothing is left!" The void shook again as the alien storm began. Thousands of plasma bolts, missiles, and rail slugs hammered the human warship. For a moment, space itself seemed to tear apart. The Dominion believed victory might still be possible. But then, the human ship moved differently. Panels on its hull opened like silent wings. From them, swarms of drones poured into the void, small, sharp, and impossibly fast. Each one carried weapons the aliens had never seen before. The first wave of Dominion ships never saw death coming. The drones cut through their shields, drilling holes straight into their cores. Cruisers that had survived 100 battles tore apart in seconds. Carriers exploded, spilling fire across the stars. Panic filled the alien comms. "They have drones, thousands of them. They're everywhere. We can't track them. They're too fast." The swarm moved like a storm of knives. Wherever an alien ship tried to escape, drones were waiting, ripping armor and tearing reactors open. On the human bridge, the captain gave his order without raising his voice. "Release secondary batteries. No survivors." The warship's sides unfolded further. Missile bays opened, but these were not ordinary missiles. They were sleek, long, and blindingly fast, each one trailing white light across the dark. They streaked through space and struck alien vessels before defenses could lock on. Entire squadrons vanished in silence, consumed by fire. In minutes, the battlefield turned from chaos to slaughter. The Dominion's numbers no longer mattered. Their swarm had been met with something greater, a precision storm they could not stop. On the Imperial Fang, Kareth's crew broke into cries of despair. "They're everywhere. Our lines are gone. They're cutting us apart like children." Kareth's claws trembled on his armrest. His heart pounded like a drum. Every instinct screamed at him to flee, but his pride chained him in place. He could not run. Not yet. The human warship advanced slowly, its dark hull glowing faintly in the firelight of destroyed ships. It did not rush. It did not chase. It moved with the patience of a predator who already knew its prey had no escape. The captain's voice carried calmly across the human bridge. "Begin hunting patterns. Target survivors one by one. Show them there is no safety." The drones obeyed like extensions of his will. They broke into smaller packs, cutting through the scattered alien vessels. No Dominion ship was too small to escape their wrath. Freighters, escorts, even damaged shuttles were torn apart in seconds. On alien worlds, those watching the broadcast were silent. Entire stadiums, once filled with cheers for the Dominion fleet, now sat frozen in horror. Children clutched their parents. Elders shook their heads. For the first time, the galaxy saw the humans not as prey, but as predators far beyond anything they had known. The Imperial Fang shook violently as one of its escort ships exploded nearby. Alarms screamed through the bridge. Officers shouted over each other. "Shields are failing. We can't cover the retreat. The drones are breaking through." Kareth slammed his fist on the chair. His voice cracked with desperation. "Fight back! Fight back!" But even he knew the truth. The Dominion was not fighting anymore. It was surviving. Barely. And the humans weren't finished. The warship's forward cannon lit up again. Its railgun fired, a single strike cutting through another Dominion battleship. then another. Every shot was precise, every kill absolute. For the first time in his career, Admiral Kareth felt powerless. The might of his people, the fleet that had taken centuries to build, was being erased in hours by one silent predator. He looked at the screen, his voice a whisper. "What are you?" The answer came not in words, but in fire. The human warship pressed forward, tearing through the swarm with unshakable calm. The battle had turned, and the Dominion had already lost. The human message. The battlefield burned. Alien wreckage drifted in silence, their twisted metal glowing faintly in the cold dark. Thousands of ships had once filled the stars with fire. Now only fragments remained. The mighty Dominion armada, so proud, so certain, was being erased before the eyes of the galaxy. On the flagship Imperial Fang, Admiral Kareth stood frozen. His fleet was collapsing. His officers shouted, panicked voices filling the bridge. "Our cruisers are gone. The swarm is inside our lines. Command carriers destroyed, no coordination left." Kareth's chest felt heavy, his pride cracking with every scream. He had promised the Dominion an easy victory. Instead, he had led them into a nightmare, and then the human warship spoke. A signal cut across all comms at once. Every alien ship, every planet watching, heard the voice. It was calm, steady, without fear. "This is Captain Elias Ward of the Terran Defense Fleet." The words carried through the void like thunder. Every alien froze. Billions across the galaxy leaned closer to their screens. For the first time, humanity had spoken directly. "You fired first," the captain continued, his tone sharp but controlled. "You believed we would kneel. You believed numbers could break us. You were wrong." On the Imperial Fang, the comms officers stared, their scales pale with fear. The voice cut through their pride like a blade. It wasn't the voice of prey. It was the voice of a predator explaining why the hunt had already ended. Kareth bared, his teeth rage boiling. "Open channel, I will answer this human myself." But before his order was carried out, the voice spoke again. "You came to teach us fear," Captain Ward said. "Instead, we are teaching you regret." As the words echoed, the human ship fired again. Its railgun tore through another Dominion battleship, splitting it clean in two. The wreck spun silently into the void, flames spilling like rivers of light. The aliens across the fleet began to break. Crews shouted in panic. Some abandoned their stations, some wept openly. Even hardened officers trembled. He's talking to us," one whispered. "Like we're insects." Admiral Kareth growled, slamming his fist against the command rail. "We are not insects. Fight back, fight back." But his words sounded hollow. Even his crew knew it. The human voice returned colder now. "We showed mercy when you came to our worlds. We asked for peace. You answered with war." The captain paused. Silence filled the comms for a moment, heavier than any weapon. Then he spoke again. "This is your warning. Turn back, or we will show you what humanity truly is." The galaxy trembled at the words. Billions of aliens watching knew, deep inside, that this was no bluff. The humans had not even revealed their full strength yet. The Dominion fleet, what remained of it, hesitated. Some ships tried to pull back, breaking formation. Others froze, unsure whether to fight or flee. Chaos spread faster than fire. On the Imperial Fang, Kareth's officers stared at him with desperate eyes. "Admiral, they are not bluffing. We cannot win. We must retreat." Kareth's pride screamed at him to resist, but his heart knew the truth. If they stayed, they would all die here. And worse, the galaxy would remember the Dominion not as conquerors, but as fools destroyed by one human ship. Yet before he could give the retreat order, the human captain's voice returned one last time. "You wanted war," Captain Ward said. "Now you'll live with what you started." At that exact moment, the human warship unleashed another strike. Not one railgun this time, but a spread of missiles that split into dozens of warheads. They moved faster than any alien system could. Track. Seconds later, 3 more Dominion cruisers vanished in blinding explosions. The message was clear. The humans had spoken. And their words were backed by fire. On alien worlds across the galaxy, whispers turned into fear. If one ship could do this, what would happen when Earth sent a fleet? The fall of the Armada, the Dominion Armada, was no longer a fleet. It was a graveyard, where once 5,000 ships had filled the void. Now only burning fragments drifted across the stars. The human warship cut through them with calm precision, its weapons striking like the hand of a god. On the bridge of the Imperial Fang, Admiral Kareth's pride was gone. His jaw trembled as he watched his empire crumble. Every second another Dominion vessel vanished from the screens. "They're gone, Admiral," one officer whispered, his voice shaking. "Our carriers are destroyed. The escorts have fallen. We are alone." Kareth's claws dug into his chair until blood ran down his fingers. Rage burned inside him, but even rage could not hide the truth. His armada, the largest in Dominion history, was finished. The human warship advanced slowly, its drones and missiles hunting the stragglers. The Dominion survivors tried to scatter, but every attempt failed. No matter where they ran, the drones found them. No matter how they hid, missiles burned them away. On the alien comms, chaos reigned. "We can't escape. They're surrounding us. Our engines are gone. Help us!" There was no help. There was no rescue. The fleet was falling apart in every direction. Across the galaxy, billions of eyes watched in silence. The Dominion, feared for centuries, was being torn apart in a single day. Entire civilizations who had once bowed to their power now whispered with wide eyes. For the first time, they saw the end of their oppressors, and they saw who ended them. Humanity. Inside the human vessel, Captain Elias Ward stood firm. His voice was calm as ever, but his words were sharp as steel. "Target their command core. End this." The railguns aligned, missiles armed, drones shifted their formation. The Imperial Fang shuddered as warning sirens screamed. Officers turned pale. Their screens showed dozens of human weapons locking onto them. "They're coming for us," one officer gasped. "We're the target. Now." Kareth's heart pounded. For the first time in his life, he felt true fear. He had faced wars, rebellions, endless battles, but never this. Never a predator that looked upon him as nothing more than prey. He rose to his feet, his voice breaking. "All ships, retreat. Retreat now." But his order came too late. The human warship fired. The first railgun shot tore through the Dominion's remaining battleships, vaporizing them in a heartbeat. Missiles followed, slamming into cruisers and escorts. The sky lit with fire as entire squadrons vanished. The drones swarmed, tearing into stragglers. Alien screams filled the comms as crews begged for mercy. No mercy came. In minutes, the Dominion's proud armada was reduced to ashes. The Imperial Fang shook as another escort beside it exploded. Fire rolled across its hull. Alarms wailed. Smoke filled the command deck. Officers shouted in panic. "Shields collapsing. Engine damage. We can't hold much longer." Kareth's chest heaved. His claws trembled. He could feel the weight of centuries collapsing on him. The Dominion's power, its pride, its endless rule. All of it ended here, against one human warship. He sank into his chair, eyes wide and empty. "This cannot be real," he whispered. Not like this, but it was real, and the galaxy was watching. On alien worlds, silence reigned. The broadcast showed the human warship moving through the wreckage like a shadow. The strongest fleet in history had fallen, and the humans had not even unleashed their full strength. In every corner of the galaxy, rulers and citizens whispered the same question. If one human ship could destroy an armada, what could an entire human fleet do? The human captain's voice returned, sharp and cold, cutting into the hearts of every survivor. "You brought this upon yourselves. Let the galaxy remember. Humanity does not kneel. The Imperial Fang trembled one last time as the human guns locked onto it. Admiral Kareth closed his eyes. For the first time in his life, he prayed. The end was coming. Over before it began. The battlefield was silent. Where once 5,000 Dominion warships had filled the void, only wreckage remained, burning fragments drifting through endless night. The might of the Dominion, their centuries of conquest, had been erased in a single battle. At the center of it all, the lone human warship floated calmly, its hull untouched, its guns still glowing faintly. It did not move in celebration. It did not roar in triumph. It simply waited, as if deciding whether the galaxy deserved mercy. On the bridge of the Imperial Fang, Admiral Kareth felt the weight of finality. Smoke filled the air. Officers lay, broken at their stations. The flagship's shields were gone, engines failing, weapons offline. His empire's pride was gone with them. The human ship's weapons locked onto the Dominion flagship. Lights blinked across Kareth's screens, warning, screaming. He clenched his claws, trembling, his voice no longer proud. This cannot be the end. And then, across every surviving channel, the human captain's voice returned. This was mercy. The words cut deeper than any weapon. Calm, cold, final. You came with your armada, believing numbers would break us, but numbers mean nothing to humanity. We endure, we adapt, and when we strike, we end wars before they begin. Kareth felt his heart stop. All around the galaxy, alien leaders listened in silence. Citizens froze in terror. The message was, not only for the Dominion, it was for everyone. The captain's voice grew sharper. Remember this day. One human ship ended the largest armada your galaxy has ever seen. Think carefully before you test what happens when Earth sends a fleet. The silence that followed was heavier than death. Then the human ship fired. A single, railgun shot tore through the Imperial Fang. The Dominion flagship split in two, its remains swallowed by fire. The last command vessel of the proud armada was gone. The galaxy watched, horrified, as the humans turned their warship toward the wreckage. Slowly, its drones returned to their bays. Its weapons cooled. But the message had already been delivered. It had not been a battle. It had been an execution. Across alien worlds, fear spread like a plague. Rulers who once mocked humanity now sat in silence. Soldiers who once laughed at weak humans whispered prayers. Every species knew that what they had seen would never be forgotten. In the hearts of billions, a new truth carved itself deep. If humanity wanted, no empire could stand against them. Inside the human ship, Captain Elias Ward stood quietly, his eyes calm. His crew remained silent, their hands steady at their stations. None of them smiled. They knew this was not a victory to celebrate. It was a warning. The captain spoke one last time, his voice echoing through the void. This war was over before it began. Remember that, because next time, we will not be so kind. With that, the human warship turned. Its engines flared with pale blue fire as it left the battlefield, drifting calmly into the dark. Behind it, nothing remained but the broken ruins of an armada that once thought itself invincible. The galaxy would never forget.